Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spock Adventure with the weekly comic book roundup. And getting started, basically, we got two videos this week. One for this week's Marvel books, one for this week's DC books. We'll kick things off, Marvel-wise, with Cable, number 7. So, where we left off before Ten of Swords, Cable had been investigating the kidnapping of mutant babies in Philadelphia, coordinating with detectives DeSantos and Molina. This, however, was his investigation was rather short-lived, however, as he was promptly attacked by space knights who wanted the sword he discovered. So, yeah. Had to deal with those guys before getting back to the investigation. And then, came the whole otherworld sword fighting tournament thingy. So, yeah. We open with a quote from Cable. "It's tough when the past that comes back to haunt you hasn't happened yet." The issue begins with Cypher, his wife, Bay the Blood Moon, Magic, Quentin Quire, one of the Cuckoos, presumably Phoebe, I think Phoebe, Mondo, and one of the others watching the sunset and remembering Gorgon, where his swords, Grasscutter and Godkiller, await for his return. And so Cable steps through. Cable meets up with his sister Rachel. They go through one of the gates to Philadelphia, meet with the Santos and Molina, who really don't want the help of the mutants. But they do. They explain they're grateful for the interest, but they got over 50 years on the job, and they're a little skeptical that Cable and Prestige can just magically sort the case. Prestige can totally do that with her size skimming, which she puts into practice, and apparently she's still getting used to the idea of there being people that are the idea of there being human cultists who worship mutants. But they find the house, they have another child, and well, yeah. So the four of them head towards the house where Prestige has directed them. And it's like, yeah, there's no way this is going to be done by the book. No warrants. Yeah, no. Rachel then even goes so far as to cut DeSantis and Molina in psychically so that they can see through what's going on as well. Cable bursts in using his telekinesis, explaining that Cyclops has been pushing him to use his mutant powers, and it turns out that whipping shattered glass at the bad guys with his mind is easy and fun. But he's kind of making up for the fact of his for the fact that he did kind of sort of hesitate in some ways during the Otherworld tournament. So he gets upstairs into a room where the cult leader and 4 of the cultists are holding the 5 babies they have prisoner, holding daggers to the babies. The leader, says that, tells Cable to drop his guns and lie down on the floor or the babies will die. Telepathically, Cable asks if Prestige has the babies. Yeah. And so, Cable promptly shoots all 5 of the cultists in the shoulder, and Prestige catches the babies before they even come close to falling. Cable then goes to tells the cult leader that explains there are 5 missing babies. He's not gonna ask the cult leader any questions. Just pull the answers from his head. When he goes into the cult leader's head, however, turns out that wasn't part of the cult of X. But rather, he was operating under the employ of none other than Strife. And as Cable discovers this, the cult leader promptly bites down on a false tooth, poisoning himself and dying. The two Prestige asks what Cable saw. He claims nothing, and Prestige knows she's being lied to, but he does kind of say, "Not here, not now." DeSantis and Molina are tell Cable and Prestige that they did good, and also ask if he doesn't know how to change a diaper. Back on Krakoa, Rachel tells Cyclops and Jean how it all went down. Cyclops is congratulatory. And apparently everyone's coming for dinner, but Cable has stuff to do. And him and Prestige briefly discuss what's going on, and she knows he's keeping stuff from her, which she respects. He's got a lot going on, and she does suggest that Cable check in with Hope. And when they part ways, Prestige tells him when he wants to talk, he knows where to find her. But going into his room, he punches the wall, and Cyclops tells him, suggests that if he's going to punch a wall, maybe he should at least use his metal arm. And Cyclops is also congratulatory. Like I said, he's congratulatory. He's happy that, Cable and Prestige found five of the missing children. Cable's still a little bummed there's 5 other ones still out there missing, but Cyclops is trying to convince Cable to stick around for dinner. And adding, sometimes the best move is not to make a move until your luck changes. He suggests Cable stay for dinner because he wants to talk to him about the team because Cyclops wants to talk to Cable about the team that him and Jean are putting together. However, hearing that gives Cable an idea. He has to run. First, now before we see where Cable has gone off to, we get basically a notice from Sage to Beast. Apparently Cable is requesting access to all files on Strife, and Sage ordinarily would just give him the data he's asking for, but many of the files are restricted because they are filled with knowledge of future events, and because most files dealing with Apocalypse's former activities remain classified. Sage adds that Cable doesn't really strike her as a big reader, so are they, so she asks how worried they are that they might have a Strife problem. And then it's asked if they should bring him in for a little chat, and, basically Sage asks me to let her know what to do, whether or not to give him access to the files. But he's at the Green Lagoon, he's talking with someone, explains what's going on, that, he's up against a wall. So these people are stealing mutant babies, and he doesn't know why yet, and he's at a dead end, but he needs to change his luck, and fast. And the guy behind the babies that's disappearing is, of course, his own clone from, the clone that Apocalypse made of him. And then he asks if this mystery guest is helping out, or if it would be too weird for Domino to work with it. Domino simply says that, of course, it's going to be weird. But that's never stopped us. And that is where the issue ends. I kind of like the idea of the fact that they're keeping Cable and X-Force separate, but I do appreciate we're finally going to get. Well, I say finally. I appreciate that we're going to get a Cable and Domino story focusing on Kid Cable and modern Domino. They interacted before in the last X-Force series, which was set after the events of Extermination. But yeah, this will be them. But that was with Domino leading the team, not just. It wasn't just Domino and Cable. So yeah. Anyway. All right. So moving on to X-Force number 16. Where we left off, there was something under the water. Also, Domino's dog might be missing. In fact, might have been consumed by the thing under the water. So in the Healing Gardens, Dr. Cecilia Reyes is doing an autopsy on a body that washed ashore, which has some gunk. Beast notes it as a parasitic quality, and the question that he has is whether this presence is intentional or accidental. But they've also kind of when it comes to doing autopsies, they've made some changes to how the Healing Gardens work because, well, they don't want to get the cop of their pants down again like they did with the Russian nesting dolls. On the shores, the infected sailors that are coming ashore being promptly either immolated by Domino's the flamethrower portion of Domino's War Mitten, or ripped apart by Black Tom's control of plant life. At the Healing Gardens, Beast is further studying it, and Dr. Reyes basically tells him, no, this is not going to be a toy for you. This is not a toy. This is something else. Study it. We're not. But, and in fact, while he's looking at it through a microscope, it pushes through the microscope and tries to get at Beast, destroying his glasses, until Reyes, using a force field covered foot, stomps on the remains of his glasses. An immediate intelligence report provides the following information. Black Tom scan of Krakoa reveals no evidence of a current or past or current metastatic infection, as it does appear to be metastatic. Cypher's inquiry of Krakoa reveals no knowledge of past or current metastatic infections. The autopsy reports of the infected sailors are pending. Study of the tidal currents and passages of the USS Siege indicates the likely resting place of the shed tumor is an uncharted, unnamed topographic depression. Trench depth is 10,000 plus meters. Site is a possible womb for overgrowth and a continued spillover threat. Recommendation is a search and destroy mission. So, Forge, Wolverine, and Kid Omega show up. Forge has made some trench suits for them, explaining that the trench suits flood one's lungs with fluorocarbons that can withstand 10,000 pounds of pressure, but he also built magnesium flamethrowers that will burn underwater, and everyone's been after with magnesium grenades. Because Forge. So, they're about to leave when Phoebe Cuckoo shows up and asks Kid Omega to be careful, and gives him a kiss, telling him this: if he stays alive, he'll remember that. Forge and Wolverine were watching the entire thing, and basically it's kind of, yeah, good job, kid. Give him a bit of a thumbs up. Wolverine, after which Wolverine promises, okay, game faces on everyone. Explaining that the medicine that Krakoa pumps out can do real good in the world. Well, whatever this stuff is, it's the anti-medicine, capable of doing real harm. And so it's X-Force's responsibility to end it. Of course, going underwater, Wolverine having, 100 plus pounds of unbreakable metal attached to it, bonded to his skeleton, is a bit on the heavy side. So he's just kind of, well, sinking like a stone, or a chunk of unbreakable metal. He arrives first at the siege. 8,600 meters is where it is. No survivors on board. But Wolverine is inquired about the trench, and so he goes to check it out. Says there's nothing but dark in there. And Forge states, tells him to stay on his toes, because what they say, he's turned the abyss long enough, the abyss stares back. As he's saying this, we see an eye in the abyss. But one of the sailors that Wolverine found on the siege attacks Wolverine, and he tosses it into the trench, where it is promptly devoured by Leviathan. As the Leviathan rises, Wolverine looks at it in one of its eyes, and an eye, which I might add is at least, I would say, 5 times. You'd probably fit 5 of Wolverine's head in this thing's eye, at least what's visible from the eyelid. So probably even more. So we're looking, the eye of it is likely, I would say, probably the creature's eyeball is probably as tall as Wolverine. So that's a 5'3" tall eyeball. And then Forge and Omega show up. Forge asks what Wolverine saw. He says he saw a god, and Forge is a little curious about whether or not Logan's okay, because that's not something that Wolverine would normally say. However, a tentacle promptly shoots out of the trench, grabs Kid Omega. He creates a psychic spear gun, starts using it on the various infected sea creatures. But more and more sea creatures in general show up, and so the 3 members of X-Force that are there do what they can to make sushi out of these things, when they're promptly electrocuted by a new arrival. The King of Atlantis himself, Namor the Submariner. Explaining that the dominating influence of Krakoa is spread to everything above, and he's not about to let the same thing happen below. Namor, of course, wants an explanation. For Wolverine explains that they have to dump, and they're here to clean it up. Namor points at a creature and asks if that's the dump that we're talking about, and he explains that it senses them and wants them. And imagine if it claimed Namor. Would it use Namor as Krakoa, as David's using Krakoa, or is the opposite true? Who is the parasite? Who's the host? It's difficult to tell from down here. Namor suggests they start swimming to the surface, as the sea can be unforgiving. He then takes out the creature, so he can protect himself without them causing more problems. And he doesn't need their nation when he has his kingdom. He adds that if they threaten Krakoa again, he'll bring the island down, and the deep will claim it. We then get a log entry source from Wolverine. If you ever summited a mountain, or stood in the shadow of a pyramid, or stared into the furnace of the sun, then you know about what happens when you're in the company of something bigger and stronger and older than math can figure. On the one hand, there's an awe that shrinks you down to a humble speck of nothing. On the other, there's a desire to conquer the thing. Climb its top and plant a flag, crack open its tomb and sip its sandy guts, snuff out its flame. Well, down below, in the trench, I brushed up against a Leviathan. It eyeballed me. And in its gaze, I was a speck. A meaningless speck. And now I ain't gonna be able to sleep right until I kill it dead. And that is where the issue ends. Brings us to our next book of the week, King in Black, number 3. Where we left off, Null showed up, kicked everyone's ass, killed the sentry, took over a bunch of the heroes, or captured them with his symbiote goo, wrapped the Earth in a ball of symbiote goo. Iron Man tried to combine Extremis with the symbiote goo and was quasi successful. But Eddie Brock died as well. Things are not looking good for our heroes, simply put. So, the issue begins with narration. Explain that for every darkness there is a light, an opposite, an equal. They have managed to get some allies, including a vampire army that's being led by Blade. And Invisible Woman and Blade and his army are trying to hold off the symbiote drones, but yeah. They've got Mr. Fantastic's communicating with Namor, Captain Marvel, Iron Man, Magneto, Xavier, and Invisible Woman. They've got a plan. The Bane part of the plan is protecting Dylan Brock, because he's the key to freeing everyone and then their allies in the world. The plan is that Wolverine and Spider-Man will escort Dylan out along with Blade and the vampires after Reed blows the doors open. He's giving everyone calm earpieces, but he does ask that if Yancey Street should fall, if Xavier would basically take over to keep everyone connected psychically. And so Reed asks if everyone's ready, and Spidey, asks if Dylan needs a minute, and Dylan basically says that he needs to hurt something. So they head out. Spider-Man taking the lead. Basically, most of the symbiote things are innocent people trapped inside, but until Dylan can free them and get them to safety. And Wolverine's way ahead of Spidey on that one. They run into the infected Cap. Dylan basically gets the symbiote gunk off the shield and then frees Cap, and Null feels it. And he finally sees Dylan. And he goes after Dylan. However, before he can strike, a lightning bolt hits him. As Thor has arrived. Cap is getting his bearings after having been, basically used as a toy by Null. But Null and Thor duke it out. Null does gives gives villain speech number 3. Basically, how can you hope to defeat me? I am this, and gets cut off in the middle of it by Thor by saying, "Oh, you're a god and a king. Good for you." But they duke it out, and actually, it's kind of Thor does do some damage, but Null's still able to win the fight, but it's not a resounding victory. It's not like he's holding Thor up saying, "Is this really the best you've got? Sheesh. You guys are lame." But Thor gets back up for round 2. Explains that he's killed hundreds like Null. all of whom claim to be the one true death, the living void, the end. To which he says he's King Thor Odinson, god of lightning and thunder, and protector of every realm in this galaxy. And he says when it ends, and he has had enough. And he smacks Null in the face with Mjolnir, knocking out one of his eyes and knocking his lower jaw off. However, after that, well, Null decides maybe playing fair is overrated, and he wakes the Celestials that he's brought with him. And as Thor is distracted seeing this, he draws all black Necro Sword and runs Thor through the chest with it. Stating that Thor knows the pain of all black, but adding that now Thor's had the honor of being killed by its creator. Now, for those unaware, early on during Jason Aaron's Thor run, Thor fought a villain named Gore the God Butcher who used all black the Necro Sword, if I remember correctly. So yeah. But Reed kind of flips out a bit with all this happening, and Tony kind of gets on like, "Hey, calm down, I got this. All right, I got this." Someone, however, needs to get Dylan out of here. So apparently, Tony, using the extremis infected symbiote he got a hold of, goes after the Celestials, explaining that since Dylan got it away from the hives, he and Tony and the Dragon the symbiote are getting along a lot better. And Bree's like, "I don't get it though. You have a dragon, big deal." But Tony explains it's because it's not a dragon. It's whatever Tony wants it to be. So how's he going to beat two Celestials? He explains he's not. He's going to use the dragon to override one of them and wake it, and make it his new favorite armor. And then, rock'em sock'em robots time. While Tony's playing rock'em sock'em robots in real life, Null does have Dylan in his clutches, and Hugan and Mugen get sent away by Thor to find someone. And they swiftly return with the narrator of the entire issue, the Silver Surfer. Which is actually really neat, because that means that aside from the fact that Surfer did fight Null in Silver Surfer Black, that does kind of make Silver Surfer Black even more important to all of this. Moving on, however, we've got Black Cat #2. Where we left off, Black Cat had undertaken a mission at the behest of none other than Captain America, shortly before he got turned into one of Null's symbiote puppets. That mission: rescue Doctor Strange from his imprisonment by Null. She enlisted the aid of Dr. Steve from Malcolm X, who seems to be the foremost expert on symbiotes on Earth, scientifically speaking, at least. So apparently, the ball of goo that Doctor Strange is being kept in is atop the Chrysler Building. But Dr. Steve has does have a couple things. Something he whipped up when Eddie Brock came to him to warn about Null and the invasion. So he started creating prototypes of a project he'd been working on. A full production model hasn't been completed, but prototypes are what's available. So, of course, Black Cat wants to know what they do. She explains that they are prototype anti-venom suits and rapid deployment modules. He adds he combined his research into the anti-venom serum with some curious samples Alchemax acquired from a Carnage incident in Canada. The events of Absolute Carnage Weapon Plus, to be exact. It's explained that they were remains of a cloned symbiote organism that had been virally lobotomized, apparently rendering it immune to the Null creature's mental commands. He was able to cross-engineer the samples with his anti-venom serum, but with limited success. Basically, the organisms should repel the symbiotes, but their lifespans outside of containment modules are extremely finite. Hypothetically, this could allow one to infiltrate the symbiote prison, but he's looking at a window of a few minutes before the prototypes become unviable. And she's got an idea about that, and well, she needs Doc from her crew to call a friend of his. That friend being none other than Bats, the ghost dog, who's apparently an excellent chess player, has many fascinating insights into the world of the paranormal. And so, he's going to help them find Strange, and they've got something that Strange should be able to use to, combat Null. And they have a way to get Black Cat to the prison without, her and Bats to the prison by themselves. Apparently, Alchemax had one of the Goblin Gliders just lying around. And she states that she flies off, so she always wanted to fly one of those things. And to be fair, same. I mean, Goblin Gliders look like they'd be fun to fly on. That said, I'd be an idiot if I thought I could actually control one, so yeah. She, as she leaps down onto the prison, she activates the anti-venom suit, goes in, and Bats has already found the Doc, so doesn't take too long to find him, but the whole thing about there being a limited window, so she gets him wrapped up in one, and by the time she does, she's starting to feel the effects of the limited time window. But they make it out, and, well, of course, her crew has still got the Spider-Mobile, so they catch them, and but some of Null's dragons are coming after them. They, I'm guessing they got some flashbang grenades, which Black Cat probably uses against the dragons. The Spider-Man takes some hits, though, mainly because it's not designed. It wasn't really designed to take the beating they're kind of giving it. But basically, what it is that Bats brought from Doctor Strange. Once he used a smack Loki on it, and apparently it sinks of power. But the good doctor can only use it if he's, conscious. That doesn't appear to be happening. And so, once they've crashed the Spider-Mobile, Black Cat asks what Bats thinks would happen if she tried to use the wand in question. And he does say that he doesn't know that's such a good idea. And Bats informs her that the wand itself is from Asgard. And so we get basically an Asgardified Black Cat for the next issue. Because, yes, of course she's going to use the wand herself because, like I said, the good doctor is unavailable at the moment. Which brings us to our next title. Avengers number 41. Continuing the Enter the Phoenix story. Where we left off, we'd seen a few battles between various characters possessed with portions of the Phoenix power, including Doctor Strange versus Captain America, or Doctor Doom versus Captain America, wherein Doom forfeited because he realized that having the full power of the Phoenix would make him the Phoenix's thrall, and Doom is no one's thrall. And so, the issue begins outside of Wakanda. Black Panther is reflecting on everything, how his teammates handle the time before a battle and so forth. But soon his opponent is upon him. Man-Thing in power. And so both Panther and Man-Thing duke it out, and in the end, the Panther wins. Explaining that Man-Thing will regrow. They're all discussing, a lot of the heroes gathered here, they're discussing what's going on. Jen Walters explaining that some of them, while Panther was gone, they tried exploring where they're at, the big nothing place while he was gone. No matter which direction you go, even straight up, you always end up right back there. Lunella Moon Girl explains that it's a dimensionally transcendental space of some sort to keep them contained until it's their turn to do battle. Black Knight says he's not going to take on some 9-year-old Moon Girl, even with her own dinosaur. Echo points out that they should probably assume that their captor is listening to everything they say or think as easily as she can read Black Knight's lips. Valkyrie, Jane Foster, agrees that explains they're inside the Phoenix. And she's been there before during her own run with the Phoenix Force when she was Thor. Which has Jen Walters kind of taking 2 and 2 and putting them together into 4, and asking if she's crazy or if she got punched in the face by Jane Foster or not. Wolverine then chimes in explaining it's called the White Hot Room, adding that they're not supposed to be there, as the place is reserved for Phoenix wielders. If any of them and he then adds that if any of them plan on joining the wielders of the Phoenix, well, they may as well skip to the part where Wolverine stabs them a bunch. Cap tells Wolverine to save the threats because no one asked for this, but Wolverine actually points out that Cap's wrong because one person did in fact ask for this. Namor, who's eagerly looking for a fight. And we do see more of the gathered champions. Howard the Duck, Hyperion, Nighthawk, Orb. But yeah, Namor wants a fight. Basically tells the Phoenix, tell me which one wants to sacrifice. Let me know and I'll do it. Jen Walters hulks out and goes after Thor, but the Phoenix Force basically stops both of them from fighting and promptly picks Luke Cage and American Eagle, drops them off outside the mystical city of Kunlun, where the two of them duke it out. On the blue area of the moon, Shanna the She-Devil fights Lena Lafayette, Moon Girl, as well as her temporarily displaced Devil Dinosaur. In Subterranea, Valkyrie, now Phoenix empowered, dukes it out with Orb. Orb was already kind of nuts. Getting in Phoenix power makes him even nuttier, and she, kind of promptly smacks the crap out of him. Outside Wundagore Mountain, Hyperion of the Squadron Supreme of America has been granted his sliver of Phoenix power. It's amazing amount of power. Of course, I was called for this. He gets to feel his senses expanding infinitely. He feels the cosmos itself coursing through his veins. He hears more language than he can count. As many races as there are stars, all laughing, crying, whispering their love to one another. It's changing him, though. And he realizes that the Phoenix Force would change him, expand his mind in ways he never imagined. And he can't be this open-minded. And so, Hyperion yields to Shang-Chi, who is simply meditating. It adds that Shang-Chi is a master of many fighting arts, including the art of fighting without fighting. In Greenwich Village, in Doctor Strange's kitchen, the Red Widow, now Phoenix empowered, takes on the Phoenix empowered Howard the Duck. It ends very quickly with the Red Widow winning. Then the spirit of the Phoenix host from 1 million BC appears to Black Panther. They chat a bit, and apparently T'Challa is who the Phoenix wants. And soon enough, and he is then eventually chosen as well. This time, the arena being the Florida Everglades, the nexus of all realities, where he faces off against Nighthawk of the Squadron Supreme of America. Apparently, Nighthawk's civilian identity, Congressman Kyle Richmond, has been appointed the American ambassador from Wakanda. Nighthawk explains that he would have been quite disappointed if T'Challa didn't know that. But apparently, the life model decoys drawing up new tariffs on Wakanda. It's been programmed to be quite intransigent. T'Challa retorts saying that his LMD called in sick that day, and in Wakanda, even our grade school children can hack into the U.S.'s Roxxon-made defense technology. It's what they do instead of recess. Well, Nighthawk already knows this, and he's already had their elementary schools classified as centers for cyber terrorism. After this most latest attack, he expects the White House will officially recognize Wakanda for what it is and sanction the squadron to topple their little backwoods socialist evil empire once and for all. And so, T'Challa asks how many lobbyists a literal mountain of vibranium can buy, adding with the budget hearings imminent, the squadron will not survive the fiscal quarter. The only thing left they can do now is beat the hell out of each other. To explain that one must fight with great emotion but not fight emotionally, but the Phoenix Force fans the embers of their darkest emotions to a raging inferno, an inferno that could put an entire galaxy to a torch. And it only needs to push them to the point where they let go of everything except their rage. In Atlantis, however, Maya Lopez must face off against none other than Namor. And while she's a great fighter, one thing she's not used to in the slightest is fighting at the bottom of the sea. However, Namor is in fact very used to fighting at the bottom of the sea, having, grown up there himself. It then states that Namor of Atlantis knows rage, like he knows breathing beneath the waves, and he knows murder. And before the fight between him and Echo is through, Echo will be witness to both. That is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our next book of the week, Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon, number 1. The issue begins. Iron Fist is leaving with his manservant Fu, and his ward Pei is left in the care of his best friend, his brother. No, best friend is honestly putting things lightly, but Luke Cage. They in the basement they have a portal that allows them to instantly go to any of the heavenly cities. First, they're going to the Undercity, home of lost things. What they find is the Undercity are under siege by undead ninjas. Iron Fist makes quick work of them, and is informed by the leader of the city that by Dog Brother, the leader of the city, that all the cities under heaven are being attacked. Apparently, the Citadel of the Ancients, Iron Fist must protect the dragon. The undead are trying to destroy all the dragons after all. Upon arriving, however, Iron Fist finds that the ninjas were a distraction, so the Taskmaster could get into the Citadel, kill the dragon, and take its heart. And so, Iron Fist takes on Taskmaster, and okay, I'll say I love Taskmaster. I do. I'm always loath to say he's one of the best fighters in the Marvel Universe, because usually when you're classifying someone as a great fighter, you're implying they have years upon years of training, like Iron Fist or Shang-Chi or Wolverine or Captain America. Taskmaster has simply watched people fight. Now, that's not to say he hasn't gotten into scraps himself. He has. He does. Occasionally, he even wins those scraps. This is one of those occasions wherein he manages to take down Iron Fist one-handed, using only his right hand. And taunting Iron Fist by saying, explaining, I'm fighting you at a standstill without the use of my left hand, because he's got a big box with a dragon heart in it under his left arm, so he can't. When they realize what's going on, however, Iron Fist and Fu head back to Rand Tower, where Luke Cage is playing hide and seek with Pei and her pet dragon Gork. Playing hide and seek, basically letting them win. They're not exactly being subtle with their hiding places, after all. But the elevator dings, and Pei immediately presumes that that's Iron Fist's return. But no, it's Lady Bullseye and more of the undead ninjas. And more ninjas then come up, have been scaling the wall of Rand Tower. The ninja, Pei and Cage, honestly, the ninjas don't stand a chance against them. Now, I'm actually kind of surprised with them being undead ninjas, but not the hand. But Lady Bullseye goes to the dragon herself. Pei rescues Gork, just as Iron Fist and Fu return. And apparently Fu has packed a blunderbuss, which he uses on the ninjas. Lady Bullseye and the surviving ninjas retreat. And as we're getting rid of the beats of ninjas, a light from heaven, light from the heart of heaven shows up, and Kuan Yin, the mother of mercy, arrives as the bearer of ill tidings, explaining that Tiger's beautiful daughter is slain, as well as the dragon of her city. A darkling shadow spreads from the hidden city. The great balance is in mortal peril. Iron Fist must help them, because currently heaven burns. That is where the issue ends. Which brings us to our final Marvel book of the week, Maestro, War and Pax, #1. Where we left off at the end of Maestro, the Hulk, after having been kept hidden away in a bunker by AIM for decades, got out. Went exploring the New World, which had been destroyed by nuclear war. Eventually, he discovered that in New York, there was a man calling himself the Maestro, who claimed to rule at least New York. The Maestro was none other than Hulk's former ally, Hercules. They fought a few times, and eventually, Maestro defeated the Hulk. Or the Hulk defeated Hercules, killing him as well as killing the assassin he utilized to kill him. A member of the UFOs. Vapor of the UFOs, to be exact. And he's basically pulled the Maestro is dead, long live the Maestro. So, we begin in Connecticut. There's a militia guarding, but yeah, some of Hulk's dogs of war seen coming towards them. Then Hulk arrives and takes out the group defending the city of Hartford, known as the Stalkers. Once the Stalkers are taken down, the children are gathered together, and he says, he's the Maestro, but they can call him Bruce. He's at one of them asks if Maestro killed their parents, and he says they've killed themselves by fighting him. But he says, don't worry about them, because they're going to come with him and to a whole new city, and they'll find people to take care of them, and they'll grow up happy. Apparently, the kids love their parents, and so Hulk turns and tells his troops to do what they want. Yeah, what they want ain't pretty. Apparently, though, the new Maestro has a plan to take over further air sections. Something of a political part. The world needs a single overlord to oversee everything. In fact, it requires a political movement. And he's got the perfect name for it. Post-apocalyptic existence, or PAX for short. But, Maestro explains they won't do the vision any longer. All humans will spread ability to Maestro and PAX or be disposed of. They don't need divergent opinions. That's what gets people killed. Free will was a nice idea. It was tried and it failed. PAX will rule over all. But the minister asks, overall what? The Stalkers are gone, so, Hulk rules over dystopia. The wasteland farmers are hardly a force to be reckoned with. They're just trying to survive. What else is there? But Hulk explains Washington, there's an entire nest of survivors hiding there. He saw them himself. So the ministers sent just, basically kind of, hey, basically say the Hulk is, the Maestro or the Hulk, as Machine Man knows him. He, sent me here to, basically, you can join packs or have your resources redistributed as necessary, or Maestro and his forces can come and forcibly take them. Well, the people of Washington said they're not siding with the Hulk, and they enact Operation Egress. Hulk and his forces move in. The defensive soldiers, they shoot the Hulk, but yeah, shooting at the Hulk is never a good idea. He just kind of does the whole, thunderclap thing, and yeah. Elsewhere, Delphi of the Pantheon, a small science-based group that Hulk ran with for a while. They all had, I think they may have actually been deities, but they at least had names of characters from usually Greek mythology. But she's seen the Hulk in her scrying pool, and so the rest of them come together, and Atlanta, the leader, basically says, they're not going to do anything. They're staying out of it. Because trying to save the world, that didn't work years ago. After all, nuclear wasteland. Back in Washington, D.C., Hulk fights Aaron Stack Machine Man. It's all manner of tricks, extending limbs, gas pellets, holographic projectors, I-beams. Electroshock fist that puts out quite the shock. And then, but Maestro does defeat Aaron and pulls off his head. And Machine Man explains that he wasn't trying to win. He was just trying to delay the Hulk. So Operation Egress could actually work. And in fact, Hulk hasn't even been fighting the real Machine Man, just, a duplicate. The real one's flying survivors of DC to a backup base the Maestro will never find. Also, there's a powerful bomb in the duplicate Machine Man body. Will go off in 3, 2, 1. Yeah. After the explosion, Doom pulls himself out. Actually, a little embarrassed about it. At the Pantheon base, Atalanta's... Apparently everyone was trying to summon Atalanta, but she hadn't felt like being summoned. It would seem, however, they have a visitor. None other than Dr. Victor Von Doom. And that is where the issue ends. That's it for this week's Marvel Books. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.